Now it's time to practice all of the things we've been learning about variables and constants and converting integers to strings and strings to integers in an actual project, right? So that this actually has some meaning. We can see why we would do these things. So let's go ahead and create a new Xcode project. And this time we're going to create a new Xcode project, not a playground. And we're going to choose iOS application, single view application. And we're going to go ahead and select next. And we're going to call this shoe size converter or shoe converter. And we're going to say that the organization is going to be bitfound, io.bitfound, right? Feel free to use your own organization name or your name. Again, self.edu if you don't have your own URL. And we're going to choose language will be the Swift, and our device will be universal, even though we're only going to be testing on the iPhone. And again, we're not really going to be worrying about spacing and sizing in the side of this application. This isn't really meant to be a beautiful application. This is really meant to make sure we understand the Swift code we've been practicing. We'll get to beautiful applications really in the later sections in the course when we're ready to look at bigger, more full-scale applications. So let's go ahead and press next. And I am going to create a Git repository. I'm also going to put this on my desktop so I can create it here. I prefer to just create my projects on my desktop. Maybe you have a folder you're going to save these into. Feel free to save it there. So I'm going to create this thing. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to my storyboard and I'm going to select my view controller scene here. I'm going to close my left panel for a little bit just while I start working on this. I'm actually just going to leave this as any. You can switch this if you want to a compact size. You can even just, set this for the iPhone and portrait, but any, and we'll just do the size spacing ourselves. So I'll show you what sizes I'm going to use in order to play this the 5S or 6, whichever phone you'd like to deploy it to is fine as well. Once again, we're not really too worried with screen sizes. As long as we can see these elements and test it, that's the important part. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to drop in a label, and let's change the title of this label. We can do that in our attributes inspector here. And let's call this men shoe conversion. Actually, let's call this men's shoes conversion. And let's go ahead and enlarge our label so we can see the full thing here. I'm just going to leave this in the upper left-hand corner here, and I can use my blue guiding lines to kind of place it properly. And let's add a button. We can just drop a button kind of in the right-hand corner here. I'm going to kind of do this towards the center because I'm going to be deploying this to my iPhone. And let's give this a title convert. I can just double click in, or I could have changed this inside of the attributes inspector as well here. And we need a text field. So let's go ahead and search for a text field in our object library. We can drag a text field in. And let's enlarge this. And let's give it some placeholder text. We're going to say enter US shoe size here. And let's also go ahead and change the keyboard. Now if we scroll down, we see that there's a keyboard type when the attributes inspector selected. And let's change this to a number pad. Right, so the user won't accidentally enter in other characters. We're also going to want to add an additional label here. And let's go ahead and drag this in. And let's enlarge this. And we'll say that this is going to be the converted label, and let's set this initially to be hidden. So we'll scroll down here and we'll find the hidden property and we'll select it, and I'll kind of gray it out here to show that it's being hidden. And then let's add one additional label below this, and this will just be a warning to any potential users that they should only use whole numbers. So we'll type in use whole numbers only. And we can space this a little bit more. We'll just give ourselves a little bit of space to work with. And we next need to hook up all these UI elements to our view controller. So let's go back to the assistant editor. So we're going to open up our project navigator here, the navigator side here. And we're going to hold down the Alt key and press on viewcontroller.swift. And then I'm going to close both these panels so I can properly see my storyboard and my view controller side by side here. So the first thing I'm going to hook up is my text field, and I'm going to do that right inside of here, and I'm going to hold down the control key and drag into my view controller, release. I'm going to choose outlet, and the name will be men's shoe size text field. And I can connect this up. And we're going to once again see our IB outlet here. It's going to be weak storage, a variable. Our name is men's shoe size text field, and it's a UI text field. We have this exclamation point. Now that we've learned about optionals, we know that we're unwrapping an optional here, right? And the next thing we want to hook up is our converted label. So let's go ahead and select this one. This one's the one that's initially hidden. And we can control drag once again in here. And this one is going to be called men's converted shoe size label. And we're going to make this an outlet. This is going to be of type UI label, and the storage will be weak, and we can connect this up as well. And finally, let's select our convert button, and we're going to make this an IB action. So we're going to hold down the control key and drag in here. And let's make this an action. And we're going to call this convert button pressed. And we'll make this of type UI button. The event type will be touch up inside, and the arguments will be sender here. And we'll make this an action. So we can connect this up. And inside of here is where we'll write our code. So let's just go back to the single view again. I know this is opening and closing panels quite a bit, but hopefully that's not too difficult. And the more you do it, the quicker it should be. So we actually want our label to update with the information from our men's shoe size text field, whatever size we input, and we're going to update it by some sort of conversion constant. It'll be 30. We'll add 30 to whatever US shoe size we enter, and that will give us our, our European shoe size. Now, some people have commented that 30 is not like the golden number here. I read that on a website. If that isn't accurate, feel free to use a different conversion constant. Definitely you can make this code your own always, and feel free to post if you use something different. So that's always cool to hear back from you guys. So we're going to make a constant first here. We're going to say let size from text field equal men's shoe size text field dot text. And this is just grabbing the string value from our men's shoe size text field. We're accessing the text property. And we're setting that equal to a constant name size from text field. And then we can create an integer or an integer optional here. We're going to say let number from text field equal size from text field dot toInt. And this is an optional, so remember that we have to unwrap this. So we're going to say integer from, var integer from text field equal number from text field, and we'll add that exclamation point at the end. And this will unwrap our optional. Remember, our optional can be nil or actually have a value. So we're going to say, okay, well, we're going to get the value back here, and we're going to unwrap the optional, and we're going to set that equal to the variable name integer from text field. And we're going to make this a variable because we're going to be updating this value integer from text field in order to update our label. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to create a constant here, and we're going to say let conversion constant equal 30. And then we can use our literal syntax to update integer from text field. We'll say integer from text field plus equals conversion constant. So update the value of the integer from the text field and add 30 to it, right? Add our conversion constant to it. And remember that this is the same thing as saying integer from text field equals integer from text field plus the conversion constant. And then we want to unhide our label. So we're going to say men's converted shoe size label dot hidden. We're going to set this equal to false. Remember, this is going to unhide our label because we set it initially to be hidden inside of our storyboard. And then we can use string interpolation. So we're going to say let string with updated shoe size equal, and we can say integer from text field. And remember that this is going to go ahead and convert our integer into a string here. And with a string, we can then update our label's text property. So we're going to be able to say men's converted shoe size label dot text is equal to string with updated shoe size. All right. So let's just go over our code one more time, just in case you're a little bit confused about what's going on here. The first thing we do when we press our convert button is going to be to get a constant, and we're going to say that that's going to be the size from our text field. And this is going to be a string because we're going to access the men's shoe size text field's text property, even though we're going to be only entering in digits because we switch this over to a number pad. And then we're going to get an optional here, and this is going to be number from text field. Again, this is a constant. And we're going to convert our string to this optional using the toInt function. And then we can unwrap this optional by saying integer from text field is equal to number from text field and add this exclamation point at the end. We're then going to create a constant named conversion constant, and we're going to set that value equal to 30. And then we're going to update the value of integer from text field using our conversion constant by saying integer from text field plus equals conversion constant. Remember, this is just our shorthand here. Then we can unhide our label. So we're going to say men's converted shoe size label dot hidden is equal to false. And then we can create a string from our integer using our string interpolation, saying let string with updated shoe size equal, and then we use, remember, our backslash in our parentheses, and we can input our integer in here, and this will convert it to a string. And then finally, we can update our label here. We're going to say men's converted shoe size label.text is equal to string with updated shoe size. Now let's see if this works. Let's go ahead and run our application. I'm going to run this in the iPhone 6. You could also run this in the 5S. That'd probably work pretty good too. And let's click in here. We see that our number pad comes up. So let's add, a 9 here, and we can press convert, and we should see 39 come up because we've added 30, which was our constant, to the digit that we added here. Now, if you want to get really fancy, you could add some additional functionality. Maybe you clear your text field, and maybe you add some additional functionality where the keyboard goes away after you click convert. But for now, we're actually able to practice all the concepts that we've learned in our last set of videos and last set of lectures as well. Now, there's a little bit of a warning here in our console that appears. It says cannot find keyplane that supports type 4 for keyboard. And basically, this is just a little bit of a bug that's from Apple. Hopefully, they'll fix this in their newer versions of Xcode. But this shouldn't have any effect on your ability to use the simulator or, the way in which your computer program is going to work.